This is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1, and this is Wednesday, February 12th, 2020. And today we're going to talk about choices. The choices people have made and the consequences of those choices. Now, Phil McConnell had his hearing today, and it went pretty well what I expected it to go. Phil McConnell was able to present his part of his case in his habeas argument. The judge made a conclusion, as you will see throughout this video. And at around 10 o'clock in the morning or so, Central Time, a final ruling will be made. And the ruling basically is going to be that Phil McConnell is eventually going to wind up in Florida. Now let me go over a couple things at the onset here when it comes to Phil McConnell and how this process has been handled. Normally in these cases, a judge will give a little bit of leeway to someone who is pro se, which means you're representing yourself. And he did so in the case with Phil McConnell. And he actually went way beyond what a judge normally would do in the case of a pro se defendant. He actually told Phil McConnell Friday that he would let him know on Monday exactly what he needs to do to file and how he needs to present his habeas arguments. He told him what he could and could not present in his habeas argument. Then Phil went in and did his presentation. Didn't follow the judge's advice when you see the paperwork here. He went off on the same argument he's always made, saying he was unlawfully detained and so on and so forth. And the one thing he said is that there has been no arrest warrant from the state of Florida. And no, there hasn't, because he will not be arrested and the warrant will not be issued until Phil McConnell comes to Florida. What has happened so far is that the state of Florida requested that Phil McConnell be detained because he is subject to arrest. They want him in Florida to arrest him. And the fight for extradition to Florida is actually a separate procedure. You fight extradition first, then you go to Florida, then you're booked and arrested. And it's at that time that things start to happen. Now, as the steps progress in the process, I will go over the next step. Tomorrow, Phil McConnell is going to get his ruling. It is likely, 99.9% certain, he is going to go to Florida. Sometime after that, arrangements will be made for Phil McConnell to be transported to Florida. Now, I have found out that there are actually two options. The first option I had described earlier, which would have him flying down, escorted by two deputies, either on a commercial flight or on chartered prisoner transport such as Con Air. The second option, which I just became aware of, is that he would be brought down by bus. Not van, bus. This is because the state of Florida may have a contract with a company that transports prisoners. It's a private company. And they would simply put him on a bus in Pierce County, Wisconsin, and transport him down to Florida. Now, the scenario would be basically the same as if he were to come down by police van, or how you and I might come down on a Greyhound bus. We aren't going to drive straight from Pierce County, Wisconsin to Florida. There's going to be stops along the way. And what will likely happen is sometime on the way down to Florida, Field McConnell would be dropped off at a prison overnight. Another bus would come pick McConnell up, take him another leg of the trip. He would go into another prison, be picked up the next day, and so on and so forth until he arrived in Fort Lauderdale. He would then be put into a cell, and sometime in the next 6, 12, 24 hours, he would be processed, his mugshot would be taken, and at that time, we would know he was in Florida. And then from there, the process begins, and I will go into that as we get closer to that period of time. Probably when he gets booked and his mugshot goes up, I will then explain how things are probably going to go from that time forward. Now, the next choice is that of Miss Duncan. Miss Duncan is now going to find herself coming to a hearing on February 26th in regards to her situation with her child. It is at that time that a very large amount of evidence that has been provided to the defendant in the case, her husband, that he is going to use to secure permanent custody of the child in question. Sarah Duncan is likely, probably 80% likely, to lose permanent custody of the child. She will not be able to see the child unless it's under supervision and with the approval of the husband. And in another interesting development, Sarah Duncan is going to be billed for the attorney fees of the husband for all of this. So not only is she going to have to pay her own attorney to defend her against this action, but if he prevails, which he probably will, she is going to have to pay his attorney fees and expenses for all of this. And it's going to amount to a pretty fair sum of money. So she's out both personally and financially in this situation. The next choice is that of Cynthia Abzug. Now, Cynthia Abzug is eventually going to have to go to Colorado and answer for her activities in this scenario. And Cynthia Abzug also has a choice to give the information that she has about everything that happened to the authorities, because this could go a long way to help Cynthia. Cynthia was the victim of a con artist. She was in a desperate situation. She was trying to fight for custody of her children, and she was misled by Sarah Duncan, Field McConnell, Timothy Holmseth, and the rest of them. This is her chance to get out of the situation. If somebody can convince Cynthia Abzug to go ahead and start saying things about these people, describing their criminal actions and so forth, she may stand a chance, however remotely, of coming out of this situation in a way to where she can eventually retain custody of her children. That remains to be seen. Because remember, I'm not taking a position on Cynthia. You know, she may have a case. She may be a victim of CPS and so on and so forth. But running away with a bunch of strangers is not the way to solve the problem. And perhaps now she's seen the light, she will turn state's evidence against these people, and the state may look at this and say, well, you came to your senses, we understand that you did something out of desperation, let's see if we can work this out and see if there's a way we can get your children back at you. So she has that in her favor. And so on the road to choices, we have all of this. And so what we need to do is we're going to sit back and we're going to watch step by step as each one of these cases progress through the courts. And we're going to watch step by step what happens. And we're going to learn step by step what happens in the real world. Because people like Kirk Pendergrass, Mr. Elliott, and this guy out in the Northwest have led a lot of people astray. They sent them down the wrong path. And it's now becoming apparent. But within the community are starting to wake up to what's going on. For all in all, no matter what our disagreements are, what our differences are. In the end, truth is all that matters. That's the basis of the truther community, is truth. They want the truth. They want to believe in truth. And this is what everybody needs to strive for, regardless of your personal opinions, backgrounds, and so forth. And so, as we seek the truth, as we seek the facts, we join together and we move forward. Until later, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.